So hello, welcome to Damien's Trains and Travels, and welcome to the video. And this video I'll be doing another review on a model car, and this time it's Mr. Bean's Mini, based upon the episode Do It Yourself Mr. Bean. And as you can see here, Mr. Bean is sat on the top of the car in an armchair, and Do It Yourself Mr. Bean was probably one of my favourite episodes of Mr. Bean, the live action series. There was also an animated version of Mr. Bean as well, and I wasn't as keen on the animated version, although I do actually have a DVD of it. And to be honest with you, if it is on the TV, if I'm ever bored or at home or anything that is on the TV, it's something that I will watch. But I much prefer the live action series of Rowan Atkinson, and Rowan Atkinson, in my opinion, is a good actor. He's been in literally everything I can think of. You know, Blackadder, Thin Blue Line, Rat Race, The Lion King, doing one of the voices of the characters, and lots of other things, films as well, and Johnny English as well. And also, as well, I actually saw Mr. Bean's Mini that was used in the TV series, live action series, when I went to the Bewley National Motor Museum in the New Forest, and also the Only Fools and Horses van. And also there they've got the exhibit, The World of Top Gear, which features numbers of cars that are in Top Gear in the challenges. And they've also got the sports train, which was a Jaguar that ran on rails, pulling a caravan which was also made to run on rails. And Rowan Atkinson was actually in that episode of Top Gear as a guest, as the star in a reasonably priced car. And he actually managed to make it to the top of the leaderboard. But unfortunately, he was later on knocked off by Matt LeBlanc, who is an American actor. And Rowan Atkinson does racing and that in his spare time, and into his cars and that. And a few weeks after he appeared on Top Gear, he was actually in a car crash. But thankfully, he survived. So I guess we're quite lucky, really. But I've always been a fan of Mr. Bean from a young age, because I've got the DVDs of it. And I've also got, I've got this model here, which is based upon the episode Do It Yourself Mr. Bean, but I've also got one based upon the animated series. And my parents got me that for Christmas. Must be over 20 years ago, must be about 22 years ago I've had this model. And the one that I've got here, the Do It Yourself Mr. Bean, the one I'm mainly going to be speaking about, and in the description below this video I've actually put the numbers, the code numbers of what the two models I talk about in this video. But as you know, I collect a number of cars related to TV shows, and also got a lot of the Thomas the Tank Engine Turtle merchandise as well. You may also know as well that Hornby now own Corgi and Airfix and a number of other brands, and including Sky Electrics. And you can also get this car in the Sky Electrics range as well, and also the freewheel van. And the freewheel van appears in the animated series and in the live series, always coming into contact with Mr. Bean. And in the very first episode of Mr. Bean, the pilot episode, Mr. Bean actually had an orange Mini. And it's funny because not too far away from where my parents lived, when I was around my parents' house years ago, there was actually an orange car 2 streets down like Mr. Bean's, and there was also a green and black one, again like Mr. Bean's, same colour. And it obviously an Enthusiast, and it had Mr. Bean's Teddy in the back seat, so it's obviously been done up to look like Mr. Bean's. I haven't seen that car for years now, so I don't. Maybe the person that owned it's moved. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I do have some Sky Electrics cars. I got them for my 12th birthday, and I'm hoping when I finally do get my house sorted out and that, to have a Sky Electric set as well running. And hopefully get that one. And they do like the Only Fools and Horses van as well, and a few other ones, so it'd be nice to get them to have a run on it as well. Another thing, as I said, Hornby now owns Corgi, and the CEO who retired last year, Simon Kohler, actually started his career in Northampton as well, at the model shop in Northampton. Again, that's been there since like the 1940s, so it's been there for a very long time. And he started off his career there before he ended up working for Hornby, which I thought might be quite interesting for you to know. So it's quite weird that a lot of stuff has happened in my sort of local area that's been known worldwide. But like I said, I've always been to the model railway stuff. Obviously I started off with Thomas the Tank Engine from when I was younger, but I do like other cars and that as well, and buses and that as well, as you know. And I've got others in my collection that I'm home to talk about another time as well. Obviously if you've got any questions you'd like to ask, please comment below. I think I've covered more or less everything, and obviously the reviews I do of my own and what my thoughts are on the model. But this one of Mr. Bean, the Do It Yourself Mr. Bean Mini, I do really like. And it's funny as well, when I was learning to drive, which was, I passed my test 11 years ago, but when I was learning to drive, one of my lessons, there was something wrong with the car that I was learning to drive in. So my driving instructor had to use a different one for my lesson, and one of them was actually a Mini, but it wasn't anything like Mr. Bean, but it was a new Mini at the time. Only had a few miles on the clock. Obviously, being the driving instructor, wanted to have the pedals on both sides. You know, but it was nice. It was nice to drive, and it is nice to say that I've actually driven a Mini. I've always quite liked Minis. But what I like about this one is that the colour of green and black, in my opinion, is the right colour. Mr. Bean also looks quite good, although I think his head looks a bit thin. But great detail on him as well, and the armchair as well. And they've used the registration plate that was on his car in the TV show as well. And like I said, in that episode, Mr. Bean goes to see January sales and then has to obviously go back home. But there's so much stuff, he ends up having to sit on the armchair on the roof, and he uses a rope for the steering wheel and then a mop and a broom to control the pedals on the car. Very hilarious. And I said that when he appeared on Top Gear, Rowan Atkinson, it's a shame that he didn't do that on the racetrack as well. You know, and also as well, like I said, although I said I wasn't really a fan of the animated series of Mr. Bean, if you go on to YouTube, there's a video that shows behind the scenes of the making of the animated series, which was on between 2002 to 2015. I think there's another new series being made as well. So that one's still going on. But it shows behind the scenes of how they do all the voices and that. I mean, Rowan Atkinson and a number of actors that were involved in the original live action series are actually involved in that. So it's still got its, you know, charm from the original series away, in my opinion. And as I was saying earlier, I've got a number of the Ertl Thomas the Tank Engine diecast cars as well, so like trains and obviously vehicles that are in the Thomas Tank Engine as well. Obviously, as you know, I've been a fan of Thomas Tank Engine from a young age, and this year it's actually been 20 years since they discontinued the Ertl range, which I think is a real shame. Ertl was the best range in my opinion, and this sort of packaging that I've got here, the one that Duncan's in here, was probably my more sort of favourite one. And then the last few models came out in this packaging that you can see here that Thomas is in, and also I've got one of Isabel and a number of others in this type of packaging. And Isabel, my nan actually got for me, and unfortunately my nan passed away it'd be 9 years ago this year in February, and beginning of this month she would have actually been 100 years old, my nan. But she gave me that one, and I kept it in the box. And from a young age, my nan brought me a number of cars, and she advised me to keep them in the box. And again, I've watched antique shows where you see them and you see how much money they sell for. I mean, I've got no interest in selling them at the minute, but it's always interesting to see. And as well, with the packaging on this model of Mr. Bean's car, this one, I wouldn't say that I'm as keen on it as I am other Corgi ones that they've done, in my opinion. For me, I don't know why, but I'm just not really as keen on the packaging. Although I do think part of it looks nice, it's not as nostalgic as some of the old Corgi ones that they've done in the past. There was something just about the old Corgi ones, even back then, that made them look, you know, quite good. But the packaging for this one, in my opinion, isn't as good. But I think the car is really well detailed. And also on this one, you can just about see on the side, on the driver's door, is a padlock, and it's a little ongoing joke that Mr. Bean has a padlock on the driver's door and he uses it obviously to lock the car. And another episode that I quite liked as well, it was really funny, was when his car got crushed by a tank, and as he's enjoying the cake, the army tank comes along and crushes his car. He's obviously very upset, but then he manages to retrieve the padlock and he's quite happy, and he walks away quite happy. So I suppose it's nice that Mr. Bean has a happy ending. That was quite hilarious as well. And again, Mr. Bean, it's like a slapstick sort of comedy show, a bit like Laurel and Hardy, which I used to enjoy watching when I was younger. I think Laurel and Hardy used to always be on a Sunday on BBC Two, either Sunday or Saturday, I can't remember, one or the other. But I always used to watch on BBC Two, and also Chucklevision as well, sort of slapstick sort of thing as well. And I quite like that sort of comedy, I guess, really, which is why I like Mr. Bean. And as you say, I've collected a number of cars and keep them in the boxes, and I've been collecting them for years. And also as well, I've got Mr. Bean's Teddy in the TY range as well. And I got that when I went to Liverpool, it'll be 10 years ago this month. And when I was there, I went to Hatton's. Unfortunately, this year Hatton's closed down, which is quite surprising, really. And also in that video, I shared my visit to the new Toys R Us that was there, and that also closed down a few years afterwards as well. So looking back on my video now, it's quite amazing how a lot of things have changed. but unfortunately not necessarily for the better. And this model of Mr. Bean's car that I got, the do-it-yourself one where he sat on the armchair on the top, I actually got from a local model shop, and it was the last one. And unfortunately as well, with the model shop that I went to, there was lots of other stuff they used to sell. They don't sell as much now. They've said that basically, unfortunately, they can't compete with the internet or online shops and you know, the big supermarkets as well, which is a shame really. And I always try and support the local ones if I can. You know, obviously it depends how much it is. If it's an extortionate amount, I mean, I'll buy on the internet as well. And I mean, it is, you know, I admit it is convenient buying on the internet, but it is also nice to have these independent shops as well, I think. And there's not many of them around now, unfortunately, just the way of the world, like I said, the internet and one thing and another. But it was around 10 years ago that I started doing my model reviews and that. And like I said, I've been collecting these cars for years, which I did show in the videos, but I mainly showed obviously my Ertl collection, diecast collection. Like I said, that's been discontinued now for 20 years, and then it was replaced by the Take-Along range, and later on the Take-A-Play range. But in my opinion, the Ertl one was a lot better. And I mean, I've also got the wooden Thomas ones as well. You've probably seen a number of collection videos on my channel showing that, which was like doing 10 years ago. And before that, I was just basically I was at college from 2009 to 2012 at Kettering, and you can see that playlist on my channel. And I was also at the University of Northampton, did a HND, and if I'm really honest, I didn't really like that course that much. I mean, I stayed till the end and I passed it and everything, but so I wasn't really that keen on that course. I hated it, to be honest with you. I was glad to get out of it, really, but, you know, if I hadn't done that course, I wouldn't have got qualifications, and it probably wouldn't have led to me getting jobs and things like that. So, you know, it did lead on to other things. There's the plus side as well, and like I said, it was only 2 years, really, so I'm out of it now, which I'm sort of glad about, to be honest. You sort of got to move on with life. But yeah, I did have some good times there, and I enjoyed making some stuff. And then, like I say, you can see those videos on my channel as well. As you know earlier, I was talking about Northampton. Obviously, Simon Kohler started his career there, and also Corgi was actually started by the Metalloy Company of Northampton, as you can see here. So again, quite amazing. Something that's so close to where I live. I live in Wellingborough, which is Northamptonshire, and but I do actually work in Northampton as well. And my nan used to live in Northampton, so you know, I've got quite a lot of connections with Northampton, I think it's fair to say. And Northampton was also famous for its shoemaking industry. Unfortunately, a lot of things aren't made in the UK now, but it is amazing that something so close to where I live has been part of something so big. Like I said, I've got the animated version of Mr. Bean's car as well, and on that one you can't see the padlock, but it's because the car's facing the passenger sides towards you. Obviously I've kept it in the box, so possibly the padlock's on the other side, on the driver's side of the car. Like I said, I want to keep this on the box, and that's got a figure of Mr. Bean as well. And I do actually like the packaging on the animated one. Like I said, although I wasn't as keen on the animated series of Mr. Bean, you know, I think they've done a really good job, and they've made it look like Mr. Bean. But like I said, for me, the newer one that they've done, the packaging I'm not as keen on, really. Like I said, it's like the Thomas ones, really. Like I said, there were certain ones packaging that I preferred on them ones to other models that they've done. But you know, when you look back at it, it is sort of nostalgic. It is an era thing, really. But like I said, it's quite amazing, really. And like I said, I think personally, you look at the Corgi ones, even when these were obviously brand new and being produced, and the Dinky toys and all that, back then, the packaging, how nostalgic it looked, even though it was current at the time, really. It's like the creators of the packaging, designs of the packaging, knew what they were doing, I think it's fair to say. Then obviously with this video, if you want to, you can pause it and you can see the photos of the packaging as well. If you want to, obviously be on YouTube, you can pause the video, whatever. But I do really like this model, and I definitely recommend that you get it if you can. And thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.